Well, hi again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. This is the Draft Profile, the prospect show that we have for the 2026 NFL Draft. That'll be taking place in just a few months right now. The college football season is officially over. Army and Navy, in my opinion, that's the last game of the year. Everything else is all icing on the cake with the college football playoff and all the bowl games and the Shrine Game and the All-Star games that'll be taking place. That's when you're going to get a chance to see where some of the things that we're talking about, the players that we're talking about, will get a chance to shine before the draft and the selection process. Someone who knows all about that, Joey Clinkscales, former general manager. He is a director of scouting, and he started as a scout, a former player. We appreciate him being with us. And then our NFL and our NCAA analyst, Brian LeBel. Thank you for both being here. Guys, we're going to start with two players. One, Joey Stowers, tight end out of Vanderbilt. The other is Jacob Rodriguez, a linebacker out of Texas Tech. And I think we'll save Texas Tech for a little bit later. Obviously, there's a guy that can play. He's the heart and soul of that defense. We'll talk about him. But before we do, let's look at a tight end who is gifted beyond all measures when you look at some of the great things that you would want out of a tight end. They're the height, the weight, the speed down the field. Eli Stowers, 6'4", he's 235. Joey, that is a little light in my opinion, but he can run a 4.55, maybe even a little bit faster than that. He's got terrific hands. He is a senior. He's the third-ranked tight end for the position. He is an 85.1 overall grade. Young man from Texas. Give me your perspective here on Eli and his status amongst the tight ends.
Well, he was a graduate student this year, so he had already graduated, so he had the opportunity to come back for an additional year. I love his height, his size. I don't think he's a real bulky guy. He's a real narrow, centery built guy. And you would like to have a guy that has a lot more physicality at the position. So he's not a true Y. And for the audience, a Y is an online tight end. He's more of an H and even a flex guy because of his athletic ability. He's listed at running 4.55. He's probably that. While that may be the case because he's a little bit of a strider, he's not the most twitchy guy. So he's not able to break things off really quickly, but he does an excellent job of using his height and his length. He's got really good hands, but his physicality is one of the things that concern me from the standpoint of not just as a blocker, but in contested situations. His ability to get off pressure, his ability to create separation because of his size and his bulk. He does have a good body range from the standpoint of being able to catch in traffic versus one-on-one. But he is a smooth athlete. He's smart. He's a smart kid, obviously at Vandy. He's able to get vertically down the field because he can run and create a mismatch from that standpoint. But for a tight end position, he will not be an every down player. That will be something he will have to grow in his arsenal, his physicality. I go back to that, his ability to block at the point, his ability to block downfield. All those things that require a physical nature of play is not something that he has in his tool bag right now. So that's something he will have to improve on. But as a pass catcher, a guy that you can flex out and you can put in motion to create some advantages versus linebackers and maybe even safeties, certainly due to his size, he's able to do that.
You know, Brian, he's had a guy like Diego Pavia who was at the Heisman Trophy ceremony, throw to him, 62 receptions, averaging 12.4 per catch. He has 4 touchdowns, 796 total yards that he had. Hold on a second. My apologies, folks. I apologize. I went to a different page and the sound was turned on. He had 5 touchdowns in 2024, 2 touchdowns in 2023. He's come over from a different position. Is that going to be something that will be a deterrent, or is it that he's a little light, but he's playing at the SEC level and he was very successful there? Will that be a strength? And which one of those will dominate more in your opinion?
Well, I think it's a strength. I mean, originally he was a quarterback. That's what he, went to college to do, to play quarterback. And I think that helps him as far as understanding, where he needs to be on the field, depending on what the coverage is. Having been behind the offensive line, trying to figure out where you need to go with it and what you want the tight end to do. I think that helps him a little bit from the, from the thinking part of playing the position. I think it hindered him a little bit though, as far as his build, because obviously he's a little undersized to play the position. He's got tremendous talent though. He was I think he was a long jump champ in Texas. He's tremendously athletic. He's got great hands, very strong hands. But the fault for him is the blocking, right? He's got to figure out how to block a little bit better, especially at the next level. It's kind of become the prototypical thing with a lot of these tight ends is you love playing catch and you love running routes and getting down the field, but doing the dirty work on the offensive line isn't necessarily appealing, but it's a necessity. It's something you got to do. He's got strong hands. He's got a good build, very athletic guy. He's got, very athletic background. So I think that, enhances what he's able to do. I think pass catching in the SEC, obviously, whatever position you could do about it, and you could put up production, have numbers, which he's done very well. You said the catches and the yards and the touchdowns. He's improved, both years playing tight end in 24 and 25, and he was the primary guy for a guy who was up at the podium on for the Heisman Trophy ceremony, which that's something to consider. That's something to look at. But I think he's a tremendous pass catcher. I think he adds a tremendous. I don't want to say safety net, especially depending on the quarterback. But a lot of these young quarterbacks like having a tight end, especially one that can run down the middle of the field and kind of stretch the defense out. And I think Stowers provides that, but it's just the blocking up front is going to be an issue. And it's something he's got strong hands. I think he can figure it out, but he's probably got to put on some weight, and he's going to have to really work at it his first couple of years at the next level.
Well, Joey, what I've determined between the both of you is that he's a little light, and instead of getting a Mark Bavaro, a guy that can, or a Dan Campbell, for example, a guy that really is known for his ability to move a defensive end or a tackle or an outside linebacker. Here's a guy that's going to be more of a Felipe Franks or Kyle Pitts, if you want to put him in that category. Not quite as tall, but, lean, can get down the field, but he's not going to be a guy in 3rd and 1 that you're going to want in the lineup.
Yeah, I would say the Kyle Pitts comparison is fair, despite the height difference. But I think that's a fair comparison because he's strictly a pass catcher. And the problem with just pass catchers is when you bring him in the game, especially if he's not starting for sure, then you automatically know it's probably going to be a pass, okay? Because he's not going to be a point of attack blocker that they're going to give him an opportunity to do that because you're going to try to break tendencies because everybody knows he comes in the game, you're going to throw the ball. So they're going to force him to block just so they can break tendencies. But, blocking is all effort and toughness. So his innate toughness has to increase tremendously on some of the things I've seen. So that will be the thing that, I don't know if he can fix that between now and the draft.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that turns out. Brian, before we go, blocking obviously being one thing, but if you already have an established tight end, a guy that can block for you, is this a subsidiary role that you would ask for Eli to be a part of, like an H or a double tight in certain situations? And if that's the case, are you going to pick him in the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, or is this going to be a mid-round guy that you're going to say, well, he's going to be a great fit for what we're trying to do and what we need to be able to do in terms of stretching the field down the middle of it with a guy that can run, but he is not going to be our point of attack blocker?
I think it depends. Obviously, because different teams are going to be looking for different type of players. Obviously, at the tight end position, you want somebody that can do everything, right? But I think there's only room for improvement for Eli. I think once he gets to the next level, I think he's going to have to block better. Like Joey said, you got to figure it out, or they can't really do much with you. But what he's able to do in the passing game, it's very, very difficult to just brush that aside because of the lack of blocking consistency. He's got tremendously strong hands. He's very athletic. He's a nightmare because he's too big for the safeties, but he's too quick for the linebackers. He fits into that mold. I think he's going to improve. I don't know where you pick him. Obviously, I don't think he's a 1st or 2nd round guy, but once you get to round 3, round 4, it might be interesting to see a team that says, hey, maybe we need a tight end, or we have an established tight end who maybe is a little older. And, we'd love for this guy to come in and kind of play second fiddle and learn under him and grow and develop as a player. I think that would fit Eli best, to have the ability to come in and not necessarily have to put up, numbers immediately, but figure out what he needs to do, find his niche in the league, and obviously improve not just in the run blocking and in the pass blocking, but in every aspect of his game.
Well, he's slightly above that. Go ahead, Troy.
Yeah, from a big picture perspective, the thing you have to look at is when you take a guy like this, and he's probably not going to be a first round pick because of some of the physical deficiencies he has now. So when I take him and, okay, I'm going to get 20, 25 plays out of him a game from the tight end position, where does he help you after that? Okay, on special teams. Well, he's not the most physical guy. You can give him the rundown on kickoff team maybe. But again, with the lack of real physicality, he's not going to help there. So from a special team perspective, the special team coaches will not be a fan of this guy. So this guy will definitely have to grow his legs at the tight end position and show a level of toughness that will make the special team coach want him, because if that's the case, then they would bring in a guy, maybe they take in the 6th round, who may not be quite the athlete, but who's physically tougher, who can not only help 1 or 2 plays a series on offense, but also he can play every special team, not just one. He can play on every special team. So that guy becomes more valuable than this kid, because if he can't do what you need to do at tight end, then you're just going to get a big wide receiver to go down and crack and do what have you. So it all goes back to a toughness and physicality standpoint with this guy.
Yeah, it'll be an absolute key.
Hey, I'd love to have him on the hands team, though, right, Joey? I'd love to have him on my hands team. I don't know if you use that as a draft pick, but I'd love to line this guy up in an onside kick situation.
What's that going to happen 2-3 times a year?
Maybe, maybe, but yeah.
Well, let's look at a guy that, from a special team standpoint, that does have a chance, and it definitely will be a part of what he's trying to do. Jacob Rodriguez is a linebacker out of Texas Tech. Smaller body, he's 6'1", he's 230, but he's one of those guys that every team needs to have one of these guys on their roster. He is a little bit undersized. His weight is a little bit low compared to the others. His 40 time is just slightly above average, but the heart is what you can't measure. Joey, we'll start with you. What is it about Jacob Rodriguez that stands out for you?
Well, first of all, this guy was 5th in the Heisman Trophy balloting. So that tells you a lot of what everybody thinks about this kid. He was the number 1 defensive player in the Heisman voting category this year. But that being said, he was fun to watch. He was a guy that flies around the field. He has a level of physicality. He's athletic. He's instinctive. I'm going to make a high level comparison on him, and I don't want the audience to think that I'm saying they're exactly alike, but they have traits that are similar. This guy reminds me a little bit of Luke Kuechly. And anybody that remembers Luke Kuechly, Luke is a little bit bigger body than this guy, not a whole lot. But this guy's really instinctive. He's got a great feel because he was on the offensive side of the ball early in his career, and he's a quarterback. So I think he has a really good feel and good read on things, and he's able to read line stunts and steps. So when he sees that guard pull or see that, then he knows it's a run, and he goes downhill quick and he finds the ball. And he's got really good hands. He's had some interceptions in his career. It's a lot to like about this guy, and I think this guy will end up being a pretty high draft pick. And don't let that speed concern you at 4.70, because again, he may run a 4.70, he may run a 4.65. All I'll tell you is, watching him play on tape, the instincts carry the day. I think when he sees it, he goes, and it's impressive. I mean, he's a physical guy to be only 230, but that's the way that today's game is, because at 230, he has that the athletic ability to play in space and cover in space, and he's able to do those things.
Yeah, he's got a nose for finding the football. I call them all compass players, north, south, east, west. They can go from sideline to sideline. They can cover a tight end or somebody over the middle of the field. They may make the catch, but it's still going to be a difficult one. He knows what he's doing, right? Brian, give me your perspective here on Jacob.
Very smart guy. I think that's the underrated part of it. A lot of what he does defensively is positioning, right? He played quarterback in high school. Another one of those guys that kind of transitioned from, a different position and really had to kind of figure it on the fly. You mentioned the special teams aspect earlier. I mean, he was really just a special teamer at Texas Tech when he got there. Worked his butt off, figured out how to play the position very, very quickly at a very high level. I mean, to be the fifth guy, kind of the first guy off the podium on the defensive side of the ball for the Heisman Trophy, that's nothing to scoff at, right? He's had a tremendous year. He's really the heart and soul of this Texas Tech defense. I know they have a phenomenal edge guy in David Bailey, but what Rodriguez brings to the table, he's very smart. He's able to diagnose plays very, very quickly. He's able to scrape sideline to sideline. And, I like the Luke Kuechly comp. I think Luke was 6'4", so obviously, the size is a little bit different. I think Luke was a little bit quicker, but if Jacob was 6'2", 6'3", we might have him even in the conversation as like the Arvell Reeses of this draft class. I think the size concerns you a little bit, but I still don't think he's reached his peak at the linebacker position because he's only had a couple of years to figure it out. He's had some injuries to deal with as well. This kid can play. He's fun to watch. You can tell he loves playing the game of football too. I think that's a trait that you love to have in some of these guys that are going to, you're going to have to work hard, and he knows that, but he loves the grind of it. He's figured it out very, very quickly, and I think someone's going to be. I don't know where he's going to end up draft wise. Obviously maybe the speed is concerning to some people. Like Joey said, though, I don't really think it does him justice because I think his pad speed is a little bit better than what the clock shows on the 40, but. Some team is going to get very, very lucky, and they're going to love to have this guy in the center of their defense next year at the, on Sundays.
And one other thing, I would be remiss if I didn't say that, he's a kid he's a senior, he's married, and his wife is a Army helicopter fighter pilot. So he's certainly he's smart on and off the field.
He is. Joey, let me continue with you. We talked special teams just a few moments ago regarding Eli. Is there a special teams coach that wouldn't want a guy like this on the roster? I mean, he can do everything, right? And he gives all you the effort that you want. Brian was talking about how smart he is. He'll figure out everything. He's going to be one of those guys, I think, that even if he's not a first, second, third rounder, doesn't matter. He's going to make somebody's ball club because of his effort level, because of the talent that he has. He may not be your day one starter, but he's certainly going to be a guy that's going to help make your roster better.
Oh, I think this guy's going to be a pretty high pick. I really do, because I think the instincts will rule the day. I've drafted guys similar to this, and if you go back and you think, he's probably not as physical, but a lot more athletic than, and I can't think of his name. I'm drawing a blank. Who was the? I don't know if he got in the Hall of Fame, but he's a linebacker for the Miami Dolphins.
Zach Thomas.
Yeah. From same school, correct?
That was kind of my comp. Yeah, I was kind of.
Yes, I mean, and maybe not as physical, but certainly more athletic. Certainly better hands. Certainly he's going to run faster than Zach ran. And Zach made his bones as a special teams player before he became the starting linebacker. So I think this guy has a bright future ahead of him, and I think he's going to be. I think he has an opportunity, if he can stay healthy, to play in the NFL for a very long time.
And Brian, he also has an advantage of being in the college football playoff, where not only every scout and personnel director is going to get a chance to see him, but the rest of the country is going to get to see what a terrific ball player he is, or at least a chance to play, for that next level, and try to keep one week after another being a part of the playoff. That to me is an added factor. How do you play in big games? And they're going to get to see it live.
Yeah, Texas Tech has a bye too. They were a very good team this year. They won a lot of games. The defense was dominant. Obviously, they got a couple of guys that could play up there, but Jacob was at the forefront of it. He's the anchor for this team. And I would say if you go back and you watch the game against BYU, I mean, he was dominant. He was beating receivers and tight ends and running backs to the point of attack. He's diagnosing plays beforehand. Obviously, that quarterback background, having been on both sides of the ball and understanding, hey, what I'm trying to do, from my defensive perspective, if I'm on the offensive side, what am I seeing, and kind of being able to put all the pieces together and figure out what to do and how to play run stopper, how to go sideline to sideline, how to just make things happen, which, he's fantastic at. And it's to do it at the highest level. We're going to see him play at least one more game, which I think if he plays well, I think it can't do anything but help him.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, final thoughts, guy. We got a tight end, Eli Stowers from Vanderbilt, linebacker Jacob Rodriguez from Texas Tech. Give me your final perspective. Two other guys that we're going to get to see drafted here in a couple of months in the 2026 draft. Joy, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think we're looking at two guys who will see their name called in Pittsburgh, which is where the draft is this upcoming year. And I think the linebacker, his name will be called in the first round. I'm not sure the tight end will, but it's a long process, and anything could happen between now and then, and all the testing and the fake weight that'll be put on. So you never know how it's all going to fall out at the end of the day. But what I will tell you is, if Jacob Rodriguez can go through this process healthy, that he will be a fairly high draft pick, whether it's middle or late in the first or early in the second round. Because again, physicality, I think he has some of that. I think he has elite instincts, and I think he has elite feel for the game, and it's only going to get better because, again, he started out as a quarterback at Virginia, and then he's new to the position, so I think he'll only get better.
Brian, final thoughts from you.
Yeah, I think both these guys have a ton of talent. I think if they, can kind of adapt to the next level and, evolve their game to what they need to be productive there. It's a learning curve. There's a process to it. It's not going to happen overnight. I think both these guys got the ability to do so. Probably a little more for Rodriguez, just because, we said he's a special teams guy. He can play anywhere, right? You can put him on special teams day one. I think Stowers has a little bit more growing to do. I think he's got to figure out a couple more things, but I think both these guys are tremendous athletes. I think both these guys have a chance to, be high impact players at the next level.
Well, there you have it, everybody. Brian LeBel, Joey Clinkscales, our two experts and analysts. Will be looking at the hundreds of different players that we're going to be pursuing on the 2026 draft. This is the NFL Draft Prospect Show on 100 Yards of Football. We appreciate you watching. Thank you so much for being a part of it. We hope you have a fantastic